Hello! In this video, I'm going to be answering a question that somebody sent me recently, which is, what's the best way to stand when you're playing your musical instrument? So if we haven't met yet, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. I'm the creator of The Art of Freedom for Musicians. I'm a certified Alexander Technique teacher and professional violinist. So I want to just give you a few little tips. And the first one is an ergonomical tip. It's not an Alexander Technique tip, but it's a really useful thing to pay attention to. Most people end up finding themselves standing with their feet really close together. And that's just not ergonomically the most stable and powerful way to stand. So the very first thing that you want to get curious about when you're getting out your instrument is, what are my feet doing? And again, this is from an ergonomical point of view. This is not from my Art of Freedom perspective, and it's not Alexander Technique. It's just a little ergonomical tip. You can experiment with this on your own. Just right now, if you want to stand up, you don't have to have your instrument, but you can just stand in place and start by putting your feet really close together and just stand there for a moment and see what that feels like. It might feel totally normal to you if you're one of the many people who tends to stand with their feet together most of the time without even realizing it. So do that for a moment and just get curious about what you're noticing about yourself as you're standing there. And now take your feet wide apart, not the way you would stand when you're in conversation with somebody, but I mean, my feet right now are like 2 feet wide. Okay, they're really far apart, and I'm bending my knees slightly. That's another ergonomical tip. If your knees are locked, it's going to block the flow, the energetic flow in your system, and it's going to make everything harder. Your technique's going to be harder. Your musical expressivity is going to be less natural and spontaneous and more difficult to access if your knees are locked. So that's ergonomic tip number 2. So make sure your knees aren't locked. Now, as you're standing here with your legs super wide and your knees slightly bent, just a little bent, not a lot, I want you to compare how that feels to how it feels when you have your feet really close together. So let's do it again. Take your feet close together, stand with them touching, okay? And feel the difference. I just want you to compare and contrast how it feels to stand with your feet close together and your feet far apart. Okay, so now they're close together. Feel what that's like. Now separate them like 2 feet wide with your knees a little bent and see what that feels like. And I would love to hear from you right now, whoever's watching, or if you're watching the replay, tell me what does it feel like? What's the difference? Which one feels stronger, more stable, and more powerful? So as you're typing in your answer to that question, I want to say hello to people showing up. I see that Angel is here. Hello, Angel. Thanks for being here. And Ferdinando is here. Welcome. I don't think I recognize your name. I'm really happy you're here. In fact, I have a little button here that allows me to wave. So, and if you're watching the replay, please just say hi. Let me know that you are here. And if you have any questions about anything, please put them here, or you can private message me anytime about anything related to living as a musician. And that can include anything from physical stuff, emotional stuff, tension, pain, musicality, technique, anything goes. So if you've got a question, send it my way. I'm here to help. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten a bit of a response, I mean, an internal body response to which one feels better. Angel says, feet together does not feel stable. Feet wider apart is stronger and more stable. Great. I think that most people would agree that that's the tendency. So now imagine if you were an instrumentalist or a singer who had to stand up while making music. Now, of course, not all instrumentalists need to be able to stand freely, but you know, these tips are going to be good for standing, talking to somebody as much as playing your instrument. So it doesn't really matter if you're, you know, what instrument you play. So I want to talk about my work called The Art of Freedom and how I can apply this to standing. Now, again, the question that somebody sent me was what's the right way to stand when you're playing your instrument? Now, imagine if you are an instrumentalist that stands up. Imagine if you're playing your violin or your oboe, standing with your feet really close together. How would that feel as opposed to in a more powerful pose? And you don't have to have your feet like 2 feet apart. This is just an experiment. You can have them naturally apart. And natural, I mean, like our feet are kind of designed to, our legs are designed to hang about hips width down. So anywhere between maybe half a foot to a foot distance in between the feet is probably going to be relatively natural for you. Now, if you're very tall, you're going to want to have a wider distance apart. And if you're very short, of course, it's going to be a little smaller. But you want to have your feet more or less shoulder width or hip width apart. And that is going to allow you to feel stronger and more powerful, more centered, more grounded when you're playing, as opposed to having your feet super close together. So experiment with that and just sense what the difference is when you're playing your instrument. Okay, so those are the first 2 tips, to have your feet a little wider apart than usual and to not lock your knees. Okay, now about my Art of Freedom perspective, there are 5 pillars to the Art of Freedom. They are purpose, mind, body, spirit, and the music itself. Okay, and that's healing. When you put all these things together and you're integrating your music making with these 5 elements, then you are going to be able to make music with more of your whole self, which makes for much better music. Like the product is going to be much better if you're putting your whole self into it with more awareness. So as for standing, I'm not going to say a lot more about this, but I want you to get curious and explore and ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm playing my instrument if I'm aware of my purpose? Can you stand your ground in your purpose? How does it feel when you're standing and you know what you're talking about, or you know what you're playing, you know the music and you know why you're playing it, and you're just really in touch with the purpose of why you're doing it and why the music, it's like, what's the purpose of the music? What's the music trying to express? And why did Bach write what he wrote, or Telemann or Copland or Britten? You know, why? What's the purpose? And if you're not connected with your purpose, how does that affect how you stand? Do you feel that you're a little smaller if you're disconnected from your purpose? Or do you feel grounded? And really, I like this expression a lot. You got to be able to stand your ground. Can you remain firm and committed to your purpose when you're making music? Or if you're even just standing, talking to people like I am right now, can you stand your ground? Okay. And that ability to stand your ground must also include how you're thinking and what you're doing with your body. Okay. So the right way to stand is not just about posture. In fact, posture is a side effect. It's a result of what you're doing with your mind, with your thinking, and with your body, and with your soul and spirit. Like, what's the spirit of your standing, right? Okay, so again, you need to be connected to your why, your purpose. Like, why are you doing it to begin with? And then you'll start to feel good about yourself. When you feel good about yourself, it's easy to just be present and be centered. Now, if I am feeling anxious, or afraid, I might throw myself backwards, or I might be overzealous and push myself forwards. Both of those are not grounded or centered, and they're not a way to really stand your ground. When you're off balance, you make yourself tight and small. It's not conducive to great music making, I'm telling you. You want to be balanced, but you can't just be balanced in your posture. You've got to be mentally balanced and emotionally balanced and spiritually balanced. And this is always a work in progress. Balance is never static, right? There is no perfectionism here. This is always an experiment. It's a process. It's a lifelong exploration about how to be yourself now, here, grounded on your own 2 feet. So just imagine if you are unsure of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're kind of in confusion or doubt, your body's going to subtly, sometimes it's so subtle you can't even tell. But it's going to subtly or dramatically get smaller. You're going to shrink. You're going to want to hide and run away, and you're not going to feel your most powerful, grounded self when you're on stage. So you got to start with your why, and you need to pay attention to how you're thinking about everything, moment to moment to moment, and how your thoughts influence your body and allow you to be in flow. When you are in flow and you're letting go and you're receptive to what's coming at you and you're responsive rather than reactive, that's when you are standing in a way that is going to allow the music to move through you and out your instrument without getting stuck in your body, without the tightness blocking it, without performance anxiety getting in the way. And it's just, this is what it's all about. So if you want to learn more about this, does this make sense, by the way? Does this make sense to everybody watching me? Just give me a yes if this makes sense. Even if you're watching the replay, I love to just see how people are responding, even if it's months or years from now. Give me a yes if this is making sense. Again, I gave you 2 ergonomic tips at the beginning of the video. Just really simple. Pay attention to where your feet are and don't lock your knees. But then if you really want to constantly be improving how you stand for the best results musically, you've got to pay attention to those 5 pillars of the art of freedom. Again, they are purpose, mind, that's your thinking, your body, what's going on in your body, and spirit, what's going on in your emotions and in your soul. And then you've got to pay attention to the music itself. Okay, so I didn't go too much into that. That's sort of another topic. But Angel says, yes, this makes sense. I'd love to hear from everybody else. Does this make sense? What's your best takeaway from today's video? You can comment here, or you can send me a private message or an email anytime. And please, if you're not a member of my Facebook group, you must join. And then you'll get much more stuff like this every day. We're having discussions on all of this. It's called the Musician's Mind Body Practice Tribe. And I put the link here at the top of the video, so come on over. All right, let's talk about this more there. All right, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being here. And I hope to be here again next Thursday. My intention is to do these talks on a topic every Thursday at 2 p.m. I've been doing it for about a year now. So I'll see you next Thursday. And please, 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 if you have a question or anything you want to know about living a joyful, excellent musical life, please come over to the tribe and message me. Just ask, send me a question, and I love doing videos like this on topics that are sent to me. So send it to me in advance and I'll do a video for you. All right, thanks, take care, bye-bye.